Hey guys, time for a Q&A. And a big thank you to Instagram for submitting these questions. I'm so nervous. I'm gonna start with an easy one. How have you been feeling since your blood patch? Obviously, I'm going to link these videos, but since my blood patch, well, as of now, I'm about 6 weeks or maybe even 7 weeks post-op, and I feel the exact same as I did pre-op. I had a couple of weeks where I felt really, really good. And then it slowly tapered off between like weeks 3 and 4. I have three main I have 3 main videos outlining that experience on my channel. I have one video where I talked about the blood patch in detail. I have a second where I talked about weeks 0 through 2 of the blood patch recovery. And then the third video goes over weeks 2 through 4 of the blood patch recovery. I don't know if you can see all this shaking, but like, what is this? That's why I'm having trouble with the speaking stuff too. And then the third video goes over weeks 2 through 4 of the blood patch, where weeks 3 and 4 were really when it failed, and so you hear all of my symptoms that it was failing. Now I'm pretty back to normal though, so I also have a next steps video that went up recently, and that tells you all about my second procedure coming up that I already have scheduled. It's actually going to be 3 procedures over 2 days. We're going for some invasive imaging. I'm out of breath. This is crazy. I should get Buddy. There's a question on here about Buddy, actually. Let's talk about Buddy. Favorite memory of Buddy working? Okay, so after I was on maternity, I don't know if this is a favorite, but it's the first one that popped into my head, and I've never told it on YouTube, so I'm stoked to tell it now. It's certainly up there. It's a favorite. After I had the 2 babies, Buddy didn't get to work very much. If you're new here, Buddy is my service dog. He absolutely loves being on duty and getting to join me going out places, but he's there for a very important reason. He's there to keep me safe. After I had the babies, of course, it became a lot to have a service dog with everything, and especially when I was healing, I was basically not leaving the house. Well, this one day I had to drop off a package at the post office, and I was like, this is the perfect way to ease back into working with Buddy again after so long apart. So we got to the post office. I was like, this is gonna be a piece of cake. We're gonna go in and out of the post office. There's gonna be no trouble at all. But I got Buddy in his vest, and he got so excited to be on duty that he got zoomies, but he was healing. So he got like zoomies in a circle. He was jumping up and down like Pepe Le Pew, or who's that skunk that jumps and stuff? He was being bonkers, and he was totally trying to control it. He was trying to be in a heel, but he was so excited to be on duty. I was like, okay, reset. I understand why this is happening. Let's try again. So I unvested him. We played a little bit of tug. He was like really excited that this was really happening for real. And then I revested him, and it was like we had never taken a break. So I'm glad that I made the decision to meet him where he was at and play a little bit and get out some of that energy when he realized what was going on. But yeah, that is a recent favorite memory of Buddy working. I think that happened after baby A was born, but before I was pregnant with baby B. Along the same lines, what would you recommend to a person trying to get a service dog? I would just say read up on and watch videos on service dogs as much as you possibly can before you commit to actually getting a service dog. Because even though a service dog does grant you a lot of independence, they also are very dependent on you. And you're on very limited energy already. That's why you need a service dog. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 in that way. Even though I have a service dog, sometimes I opt for things like a walker instead of a service dog. So depending on what you're actually needing your service dog for, there might be a different aid that might work better or worse for your situation. The only way that you can make your best educated guess is to be as educated as you can going into your service dog journey. So please just don't go into it naively. Don't jump into it out of excitement because you see service dogs and they're so cute and it seems cool. Like, it's not cute or cool to have a service dog. It's a ton of work, and sometimes it's a little bit more trouble than it's worth because they are furry and they eat a lot. And they have needs just like you. So just really consider what you're taking on. Really consider whether you're ready to have an actual new member of the family who is completely dependent on you. And know that the maintenance training of a service dog is a lot. I don't want to turn you off to it if you absolutely need a service dog. I just also don't want anybody taking that decision lightly. There was a question in here about baby number 3 and whether we want to go for baby number 3 or whether we're happy with the 2. I'm definitely happy with 2. I definitely feel full. But I do think about 3 a lot. I think about 4 a lot. To be completely honest, the answer to that question depends so much on my health and where it goes from here. I'm gonna talk as if you're filled in on my leak journey, so I'm sorry if this goes over your head, but let's say I have the dural tear type of leak and I have to be careful forever. Okay, we're probably not gonna make the decision to have me carry another pregnancy. But if my leak is a CSF venous fistula, and we end up getting it embolized or something, and then it turns out I'm fine and I don't have any limitations, then I could totally see us like a few years down the road going ahead and being like, yeah, 3 sounds like a fun idea right now. We'll have the 2 girls at that point who are a little bit older. Right now they're 1.5 and 2.5. I'm 32 years old, so I've got lots of time to have more kids. I can't say I exactly thrived being pregnant nausea-wise, but I really loved being pregnant and my body responded to it pretty well. Except for that, I got postpartum preeclampsia, which is threatening, you know, not something that I want to go through again, but is something I'm more likely to go through again since I did have it happen before. It did not happen with baby B. By the way, I talked about that in huge detail in baby A's birth story card. But yeah, with the 2 babies both being 2 and under still, I've really just been in the thick of baby stuff for like 3 years straight. And now that they're both old enough, now that they're both toddlers, I'm ready to do a little bit of traveling, a little bit of going around before I even think about bringing another baby into the mix. Plus right now I'm going through all of my leak evaluation stuff, all of those procedures, so obviously I can't be trying to get pregnant when I have procedures and invasive imaging coming up, but really I'm just looking forward to a little bit of travel, a little bit of road tripping, well, travel that's not medical travel, and just some time getting to know my girls in a time that's not such a chaotic and stressful and busy time. If 3 happened by surprise, like how 2 happened by surprise, I'd be stoked on it. Like, obviously, more than welcome. You know what, actually, I did get a little bit of baby fever when I saw a really small onesie at the store the other day, because my girls are both toddlers now and not babies. But I looked at my husband and I was like, nope, my logic brain knows better. Don't worry, I do love babies though. I love babies. I love having a baby bump. I'm obsessed. I really like this next question. This is one I struggled with a lot. I'm working on my journey to accepting my chronic illness. Do you have any tips to help? Right now, I'm feeling really strong in myself and really confident, and who cares if I have weird symptoms? I don't care, but dude, I'm not always like that. And to be frank, I just don't film on days that I don't feel confident enough to film. You get me? So what I'm trying to say is that chronic illness is a roller coaster. You're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days. So really just try to cling on to those good days. Let me see what question I'm answering. Along those same lines, I recently posted a video called The Stool of Happiness, which I consider my way of making sure that my cup stays full. Basically, the idea behind the Stool of Happiness is that when you have chronic illness, you don't have enough energy to do all of the things that normal people do. So like, let's say you have a crazy busy work day, and then after work, normal people can go out and socialize and hang out with their friends in order to recharge so that they're ready for the next work day. Well, if you're chronically sick, obviously you can't do that. You go to work, you probably crash halfway through work, and then you go home and you're like, well, obviously I don't have any energy left to recharge for myself. I don't have energy left to clean my house or have any social relationships. So how can somebody who's chronically sick manage to keep themselves happy enough to be resilient in this world? And that is what my video, The Stool of Happiness, was about. I believe the title is How to Stay Positive with Chronic Migraine. My very last tip is to surround yourself with community as much as you possibly can. And community doesn't have to only be other sick people. I would love to be your people. These people down in the comments who raise their hand and say, hi, I'm your people, they would love to be your people. I love this community. I would be nothing without this community. I would know nothing about my illness without this community. I would have no confidence in my own feet without this community. I would literally be nothing without these other people in my life. So make sure you stay connected to people. There are great Facebook groups, for example, where you can meet other people who have your exact same condition, and you can even meet people who are like in your general area and learn about doctors who specialize in your conditions who are in your area. You can connect about medication stuff. You can connect just to have some solidarity. And they can point you to other resources and internet things, other books that you can read, other profiles that you can follow. Highly recommend. But then also in your day-to-day life, it's really good to have able-bodied people still around so that you have something to aim for, something to aspire to. And I don't mean that in a bad or unhealthy way. I'm definitely not saying that disabled people should be trying to keep up with able-bodied people. But what I am saying is that I've found that it helps my quality of life to keep a healthy group of able-bodied people as another core group of friends. Or rather, when I only surround myself with other people who are sick, I don't feel like it helps me flourish in the way that it helps me flourish when I maintain my strong connections with other people who are normal. Even though it can be so much easier to maintain those relationships with other spoonies because they actually understand me, it turns out it's much healthier for me to try to maintain relationships that are a little bit harder to maintain. It keeps me more in the real world. It keeps me going out of my house. It keeps me pushing and trying new things. I mean, my able-bodied friend is in town this week, and she encouraged me to get a walker. I'm getting chills thinking about it. I got my walker this week, and ever since I've been using my walker, I just feel so much more free. And yes, a disabled person may have encouraged me, but I don't know if that would have really even meant the same as the encouragement coming from my able-bodied friend. We really got to bond over that. She got to understand disability in a way that I don't know if most able-bodied people get to. And I, as a disabled person, got to feel very validated and accommodated and taken care of and not judged. And I think that that's crucial to our well-being. I think we get enough of those negative interactions. We need to seek out the positive interactions. And if it's not going well with one of your friends, I hate to say it, but you've got to lose that friend. I lost my best friend of like a decade. Actually, I lost like 2 best friends of like a decade because they didn't quite get my illness when I changed. They knew me before I was Migraine Gen, and the friendship just didn't quite make the adjustment into Migraine Gen. And part of that is that when I first got sick, I didn't quite know what I needed, and I didn't know how to communicate what I needed. So the combination of sticking with groups of people who know your illnesses and can teach you how to talk to the able-bodied people in your life, and even able-bodied strangers who you need to ask for accommodations from. Combination of that, plus those able-bodied people who are going to keep you connected to the real world and keep you feeling normal because that is vital for your mental health. That's the magic ticket. That's your combination. I'm blabby. I'm blabby with the advice. UK and Oz assistance dogs teams have IDs for legitimacy. Should the US consider it for against fakes? That is a very complicated question. So the United States does not have a service dog registry or a certification process, and I think that that is both a blessing and a curse. I would love to have you guys chime in the comments below if you're a handler on whether or not you like the registration situation in your country. But in the United States, it can be a little bit difficult that when I do go to a place with my service dog, even though I have every right to be there with my service dog, he is legitimate, I am disabled, and he is trained, I still run into access issues because there is no way for me to actually prove to them all of those things. If you're new to this topic, the reason we don't have a registry is because it keeps service dogs more accessible to people who are disabled. When you're disabled enough to have a service dog, it's difficult to keep up with things like going to, training check-ins and certification checks. That kind of stuff is difficult if you're disabled. I get that. But at the same time, it's also difficult for restaurants, store owners to have these fake dogs coming in, wreaking havoc in the store if they happen to just be a pet dog. But then the store can get really, really sued if an employee misjudges and kicks out a real service dog. Huge big deal. So then I feel like that makes all of the employees and stores err on the side of just letting all of the dogs in. And that's really dangerous for real service dogs as well, because it can be very distracting and untrained dogs can be dangerous. As for where I stand on this situation, I don't know. I'm definitely not on team. We should definitely have a registry. It should absolutely be every year check-ins and you have to pass a training test and all of that stuff. But at the same time, I do wish that there was some kind of card that I could show to say, hey, at some point Buddy proved that he was proficient, even if it was by submitting videos, because the lack of being able to do that causes so much extra anxiety in me and makes me need to have so much extra planning in my head that, I mean, it's just more baggage about having a service dog. One thing I think would be really cool, since we are in the digital age now and most people do have access to a camera, is I think that people should need to submit videos of some sort maybe to, I don't know who. There's a lot of logistics to deal with here, like how to pay for all of it. But you have to do service dog training with your dog at home. It's not hard to set up a camera if it doesn't have to be, you know, all pretty with the lights and everything. It doesn't need to be a YouTube ready video. A handler should be able to take a video of training their service dog in order to submit that to prove that the service dog went through any type of training. I hesitate to say that because any disabled person is going to have limitations that, like, obviously I can't think of right now on the fly while I'm just filming this video. Like, there are going to be limitations all over the place. But if you have the ability to have and train a service dog and do that dog's life justice, be a good owner, handler, and trainer, or you have another person with you who is doing all of that stuff for your service dog, then I feel like at this point we should be able to implement something to certify anything. You can tell I haven't thought this out a ton. I haven't really figured out exactly what I would want, and I think that's because I don't have a ton of a voice in the matter, but that's where I'm at. I don't like it because I have a legit service dog. I wish I could certify him, but I also completely understand that there's just stuff that I'm not aware of that would go into that would make it really difficult, maybe way too big of a hurdle for the people who legitimately need a service dog to be able to get a service dog. You won't see me signing anything. For now, I prefer we err on the side of everybody who needs a service animal can have one, and I'm glad that they're very accessible to people here in the United States. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Sorry, kick the tripod. Let's talk about snacks. I'm a huge snack person. So, my favorite snacks. I get the wellness box, and there's one from the wellness box that's the little protein crisps that are barbecue flavored, and they're super, super good. The other thing that I can't stop eating is the chocolate chip flavored Lara bars. They're chocolate chip cookie dough, actually. I have one almost every day. It's kind of a problem, but as far as having a sweet tooth and needing to have a dessert every day, I'm glad I'm addicted to Lara bars and not to pies or cake. What do you feel is your oddest symptom of all of them? Doesn't matter what condition. The oddest for me in my own body is the vertigo. The oddest feeling, I would say. Odd is an odd word. I'm finding it hard to pinpoint things about me that I would find odd. I'm so normal to me now. I don't know if you've ever seen Raynaud syndrome. It's when your fingers turn all yellow and then eventually sometimes blue. I think it's from vasoconstriction and it's apparently benign, but that is a very odd symptom. One day I was out in the snow actually, cold can trigger it, and I was like, wow, my hands feel kind of funny. And I took off my glove to look at it, and they were just paste yellow. I'm talking like 1980s Macintosh left in your garage for 40 years yellow, like yellow. Caught cheating on a math test in 6th grade, yellow. Raynaud's is very weird. It also happens to my toes, I guess, but more so to my big toe. I did actually post a picture on Instagram of my Raynaud's a very, very, very long time ago, if you feel like taking a deep dive. Do you have any advice for me who's about to start training my future service dog? I do. Outside of everything I talked about before for the person who is considering a service dog, I've got a good one for actually training. The thing that I wish I would have done differently when I was owner training my dog. So when it comes to socializing your puppy, everyone says, oh, socialize your dog, make sure they play with other dogs, they have to meet other dogs. There's a very big difference between socializing and exposure training. Yes, you want your dog to socialize and meet other dogs, but if your dog is going to be a service dog, you also need them to see other dogs and not react to them. So make sure that when your dog is a puppy, you're training them with exposure to other dogs that they don't get to play with, as well as socializing with other dogs so that they can know that other dogs aren't that bad. All right, we're gonna call it there. I hope you guys had a fun time with me. I sure did. Babysitter's leaving in like 2 minutes, so I gotta jam. If this spurred other questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.